If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do and what would you move towards? And that's what we want to help you set those trapezes in your favor to set you up for the best success that you can have as simply as possible.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. What's your favorite CRM?
We're using Follow Up Boss.
We use Follow Up Boss.
So we use Follow Up Boss.
I love Follow Up Boss. I love it. We have action plans now for bringing on new agents. We have action plans for our recruiting.
We call them action plans in Follow Up Boss, which will trigger tasks for the agents to do as far as calling. Follow Up Boss, I like more for the integrations with everything, MailChimp, Call Action, all those different products.
I will say we used Sync and we switched from Sync to Follow Up Boss.
Honestly, the greatest CRM I've ever used. I've used Brivity, Sync. I've looked at Boomtown, like Real Geeks, just a bunch of different ones. But me personally, I fell in love with FUB about like 7 months ago when I first started using it.
I've used Boomtown. I've used Line Desk. I've used Conversion. And I think Follow Up Boss gives you the most integrations that are simple, and it gives you the best ability to go and integrate large things into one single solitary platform. Yet at the same time, it's still affordable.
I do like Follow Up Boss better just because you can text from the app and things like that. It's just a little more convenient for me.
It tracks everything that I need. I can customize it if I want. If I want to go smart list based, that's fine. If I want to go task based, it's fine.
I think it's one of the best systems, and it's very user friendly.
It just really helps me never drop a ball because it's so user friendly.
I don't have a one horse in the race with Follow Up Boss. Purely objective, Follow Up Boss has been the best one that we've found.
Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /Rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. Thanks again. Now back to our show. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Yes, it's me. I know most of you guys haven't heard my voice since early May. I mean, you guys heard a couple 5-minute updates from me when I was in Arkansas visiting Maddie. And you guys are going to hear in a second of why I'm back interviewing today. So 2 of the most inspirational close friends in my life, 2 guys that have really impacted me in super significant ways. I can't believe I've only known them for 6 or 7 years. With how much impact there really has been in my life. They just released a book. We talked about getting them on the podcast today, and here they are. So you're going to recognize one of these voices right away. And if you've listened to any of my GoBundance stuff, you're going to recognize the other one. So today I get to interview Pat Hiban, former glorious host of the Real Estate Rockstars podcast, and one of the founders of GoBundance, author at The Quitter's Manifesto, and Tim Rhode. And Tim is one of the kings of Northern Nevada, and we'll get to talk about that too. Both founders of GoBundance and authors of the book. Guys, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Real Estate Rocks are going to recognize that voice. Tim, did Pat ever have you on this podcast back when he was doing the interviews?
He did.
I did.
Way back when he wanted to
like in the first 20 or something. I was like,
yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. So Real Estate Rocks, there's like 1,400 episodes out now, guys. But go back to the first 20 and you will hear Tim Rhode and Pat Hiban Tim was a real estate agent. We're not going to talk a whole lot about real estate agent stuff today, but don't turn the channel off. Anybody that was here, if you're a new agent, you're an old agent. A lot of you guys are thinking about quitting your jobs or already have. But Tim was an agent. Tim had some amazing stories that he told me early on about an agent. Maybe we'll get into that. And Pat was too. But you guys have a book and the super cool name, right? And so, but I'd love to hear what's really going on with that. And then we'll probably get into some stories about how we all know each other. But the Quitter's Manifesto, what made you guys decide to write a book together?
Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I will claim that it was my idea. I was during COVID. I was sitting there drinking some coffee and journaling, and I just had the idea. And I was like, who taught me how to quit? You know, I was like, well, Tim did. Because when I met Tim, he was retired at like 40. And I was like, that's interesting. And I want to be like him. And over time, he inspired me through our relationship. And I said, well, why don't I write one with Tim? And it could be like a mentor-mentee type of thing where, you know, he mentored me. And then now together we're mentoring hopefully millions of human beings on how to quit their job, how to move on from their job. Not to do nothing unless they want to do nothing, but to, you know, do something that inspires them more, that they're more passionate about, that they're just more fulfilled by.
Yeah. I remember the stories where you talked about, so you and David Osborne, before you met Tim, you guys met each other at a mastermind and you were like hardcore goal chargers, like workaholics, maybe? Like a lot of us are. And you guys were like, I worked 10 hours a day, or I worked 12 hours a day. You guys would compete with that. And you met Tim, and Tim's like, I went hiking and skiing today and I made the same amount of money. Like there's parts of that's the story, right? Like yeah. He was one of the first people that you met that talked about making money while you sleep.
Yeah. I mean, when I asked him what he did the first day I met him, I said, so what do you do? He said, I ski.
Yeah. Imagine that. Right. The listeners, when you're out there, people are going to ask you what you're doing. Like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. We say, make sure everybody knows what you do. Right. Or, hey, I'm doing this. But we get to ask all of us. I can't imagine walking up to somebody, hey, what do you do? And they're like, yeah, I ski. And you're like, wait, like, no, I go skiing for fun. I hike, I go out. What a cool answer.
And I think it was because of interesting juxtaposition between Pat and myself, of where I was and where David and Pat were. And you actually had the game right, but the numbers wrong. It would be like Pat saying, hey, I worked 16 hours today. And David saying, I worked 17, I beat you. And that was their game. Who could work the hardest? So that's what was so interesting for them when they met me and they asked, what do you do? And I said, I ski. And it was an honest answer, because many of you can relate to this, you know, that are in the real estate world. You work your butt off. It's almost like you're on the hamster wheel doing that thing, but you don't really know why. And part of this book is to help you go from where they were to where I was. And there's a part in the book where we talk about interest over obligation. And you think about that hamster wheel, that is obligation. That's the stuff you have to do to pay the bills. And don't really get out of your way thinking, well, if I didn't do this, what would I want to do? So early on, I started thinking, how can I not do what I want to do? How can I spend as much time doing what I'd love to do? And how can I get there? And the answer was buy a lot of real estate and get to where you don't have to work, as Pat said, if you don't want to. So that's where I was when I met Pat and when I met David. I'd kind of jumped off that. I'd jump off the cliff, as we talk about in the book. So,
how long ago did you guys meet?
It was in 2004. So what was that? 18 years ago.
18 years ago, like right before the housing market is like.
That's insane.
Peaking. That is insane. And so at that time, did you live on the East Coast, Pat, and Tim was in California?
Yes. And I think I met David Osborne in I want to say 97.
It was 97.
Jesus. Whiz.
I'm only a little bit behind you guys in age.
That was like 25 years ago.
But it is all of us are. I want to be like, hey, you guys are old, but then I think back to like, yeah, I was a grown up then too. During that time, makes me a little sad and happy. Tim, you used to have this TV ad for when you were a real estate agent, right? Like early on, you had a big ad that you recorded that went on TV. There wasn't internet and everything else. But didn't you have a crazy ad? You jumped off a bridge or something?
I had a number of them, but I did I was bungee jumping and with a suitcase and a suit on and a briefcase. And the ad was, I'd jump at the chance to go to work for you. And my whole slogan was call Tim Rhode and start packing. And that was my mindset was don't call me for a no cost, no obligation market analysis. Call me when you really want to move. And if you wanted to price your home too high, I literally gave you the competition's phone number. So in
this interesting time right now, somebody
823-8827. Right. Dave and Carol Bragan.
You're like, here's mine. And if you don't like me, go to the other person. That is gutsy and that is wild. And I hope one of our listeners goes and jumps off a bridge.
What did you do that on a TV ad or did you do it on a listing appointment? Give Carol's number.
Yeah. I'd give Dave and Carol's phone number. Yeah.
On listing appointments? Or on the ad?
Well, actually, if I was on a listing appointment and they said, the comps all said 300 and they wanted 350, I would literally give you their phone number and say they specialize in homes that never sell. You guys would be great. You guys would be a great fit. Here's their phone number. Call them, and when it doesn't sell, call me in. I'll come clean it up. However, I cannot guarantee you'll get 300 then because the market was dropping and you might have to bring it down to 280, 260, 240.
How bold is that?
Dude, listeners out there, somebody better do that. Like just get, so in hindsight now, the story that you guys have been able to do, Pat, you've written a couple books, right?
Correct.
Tim's written a couple books. Tim, is this your second book?
It's my third, counting the One Life playbook. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. The One Life playbook. You guys both had, what was the Go Abundance book?
Tribe of Millionaires.
We've done an interview about that before, guys. Tribe of Millionaires is a fantastic book about just a great story. And I can't wait to get to read the Quitter's Manifesto too. But one of the stories that Pat talked about, or that Tim talked about just now, was being an agent and then investing. And I remember, Pat, one of your old books of
6 steps to 7 figures.
Yeah. 7 steps to 7 figures. You talked about invest being that important one. So out here, people are deciding to like quit and become agents, right? Or quit and do nothing. Right. And or trying to figure out how do they really live the life they want to live. I think that one of the challenges that someone may have, and maybe it's answered in the book of a Quitter's Manifesto concept, is how can I stop working? How can I afford to stop working? Like, what if I don't go to work tomorrow? Like, the world's going to end. Like, there's so many reasons people say, like, I have to stick with this job because it's all I got. What would you guys say to that?
That's great that you brought that up, actually, because our first chapter in the book is acknowledging the truth, which means it's not what you think it means. But what we mean by the truth is quitting is scary. It's very scary. We're not here to tell you that it's going to be easy and anybody could do it. Matter of fact, we talk in the book about the old adage that entrepreneurs will jump off a cliff and figure out how to build a parachute on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1% of the population. 99% of the population is going to look down and be like, forget it, and walk away. They might get a selfie on the edge and then roll out, That's it. So what Tim and I decided to do was we wanted to make this book like a trapeze. And by that, like a trapeze in a circus. Imagine a trapeze in a circus. You have a safety net on the bottom in case you do fall. and then you have a ring to jump onto as you move forward. So every chapter is a trapeze ring that you could grab onto one at a time, and there's a safety net there for you. So chapter by chapter, we're tactically telling you, do this. Next trapeze ring, do this. Next trapeze ring, do this. And next thing you know, you're going to be on the other side of the gorge or the cliff or the fjord or whatever it is that you're trapezing over. And you're going to be in your new job or your new life, and you're going to be very happy. And that is exactly what the book does. It is a tactical book. It is a instructional book. It is not
it's like a step-by-step guide. It sounds like.
There's no cliches in it at all.
So who is the book perfect for?
I think it's perfect for those that are scared of the cliff. It's not for Aaron Amuchastegui, Pat Hiban, and Tim Rhode. We would probably make that move anyway. It's for those doubting Thomases that need the extra steps along the way that will help them be tactfully make it to the other side. And some of the tools we have is as easy as what we call the soul-sucking audit that helps you realize, how bad is it? Is it worth me leaving or not? And then we have like 4 different things to look at. Am I compensated fairly? Am I respected by my boss? Is a good fit for me and the company? And how do I feel every day when I go to work? Is this something? Yeah. So you rate yourself like on a 1 to 10 scale. If you're 7 or above on those things, you probably have a pretty good gig. But if you find yourself 6, 4, 3, it may be time for you to move on.
Time to roll out.
Yeah, man, I think there's a big percentage of listeners like listening right now that are listening to this podcast while they're driving to their normal job and they're thinking about becoming a real estate agent. And the reason I know that is the other interview I'm doing today is a guy that listened to the podcast for 18 months before quitting his job and deciding to become a real estate agent. Now, as a result, he was able to hit the ground running and got like deals going his first weeks. Our most downloaded podcast last year was Stephanie Heiser. She was a vice principal at a school. And for a year or two, she listened to the podcast as she was driving to work and eventually said, okay, I'm going to go become a real estate agent instead. And she did, I don't know, remember how many deals that first year. So I really think this is so fitting there's some of you guys right now, you're listening and you're going, oh shit, he's talking to me, because you're driving in your car and you're going to your normal job and you've been like, maybe real estate is one of these options. Sounds like this book is great for you. Do you guys help guide people in that for them to find what job is next? Like if they don't, so first of all, somebody should listen to it if they like don't like what they're doing. Where should they go if they're trying to figure out what they should do?
That's a great question. I mean, that's a great question. And we recommend and we've been asked this, we recommend is figuring out what you get excited about doing. Tim and I had a conversation with somebody, Aaron, recently, who had juggles a lot of balls, and they were trying to figure out how they can just like focus on one thing so that they could be really good at that one thing. And we asked them, we said, what is it that you look forward to? Of all the things that you do, what do you kind of move to the front? What do you like look forward to? What is just naturally like the funnest for you? And then they said, this. And we said, well, then you should, maybe you should go to that. You know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing with trying to figure out what you want to do. What excites you the most? What do you look forward to the most?
Yeah.
But it's a great question. And it's hard, right? And it's hard, especially the younger you are, the harder it gets, I think, because, there's obligations. You got to make ends meet, first and foremost.
And I think one of the challenges is, let's take that high school principal They were wrapped up in their identity. I can't quit this. I am the high school principal. Everybody looks at me and sees me in this light. Pat and I both quit amazing real estate agent jobs where we were making boatloads of money and could have gone down that track for decades and been really successful, really happy, but it didn't juice us anymore. And it had oxidized. The career had rusted. And I'm sure many of you listening to this can relate to that, where it was so fun at first and now it's just no longer fun. So the challenge is how do you go from Pat and I being top agents, that principle you mentioned, how do you go from that incarnation where we're wrapped up in this one identity and changing that identity to a whole new incarnation? And that's part of what the book's all about, is helping you. Pat talked about the trapeze, using that bar to take you from one trapeze to the next to the next. For me, it was going from real estate agent, dabbling into investing, to I only want to invest. I never want to sell another home. So I had to change my identity from that of a real estate agent who takes great pride in coming through for those that I serve, to the only person I'm serving from now on is me and my family as a real estate investor, because I'm never going to list and sell another home. So I had to come up with a new identity of what does that look like? And that's what we challenge your listeners. And Pat said it before, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And what would you move towards? And that's what we want to help you set those trapezes in your favor to set you up for the best success you can have as simply as possible.
Yeah. I think about I was sharing with some of my team members today. I worked for a company from 2003 to 2009. Right. I was an intern there. I got out of college and I worked for this home builder, and I got to go from being a purchasing agent to like an operations director to a land acquisitions guy to managing all the people on the buy sell side and doing some really fun stuff. And then in 07, 08, 09, it got to be less fun. Right. Mm-hmm. We remember that time, home builders, we went from golfing every day and getting paid really good money to like going on job sites ourselves and trying to clean it out and work short sales with the banks so that the builder didn't get foreclosed on or have to file bankruptcy. But most of that year, I would come home and I would feel sad and overworked and underappreciated. And I would whine to my wife about it. I would whine to Kalina about it. And I would say, man, when I first got out of college, I wanted to go be an entrepreneur and I was going to go do this development stuff with my dad. And I remember Kalina saying, you can't do that. You can't go start it. You can't go be a business owner. That's too scary. You got to get a job and do this. No, you have to choose SynCon. She had never known an entrepreneur in her life. So she had told me, like, you can't be an entrepreneur. You have to get a job. She thought I was crazy for thinking about the fact that like I wouldn't have a stable income. Her parents are a police officer and a teacher. And then in 2009, I was just whining and complaining and so unhappy that I finally got, and I was like, I think I can do better myself. I whining, complaining, so unhappy. Charlotte was born 6 weeks early, and then I had all this extra, regret and feeling like this was my fault for not providing better because Kalina had to be a waitress at night. And I remember when she finally just said, like I did every day, man, I should really just quit and start my own thing. And one day she had finally just had enough. She goes, then quit. Fine, then quit. And I don't know if it was her giving me permission at that time to finally do it, or if it was just like realizing I sounded like a whiny person. But I remember thinking back, it was very difficult. Like I wanted to do that for a long time. I wanted to go do my own thing for a long time. There are all these things. There's fears of would I succeed or not. There was the really not wanting to have the conversation with my bosses. Like that was terrifying. The 10 minutes of like, hey, I quit. I really appreciate you guys. It was so hard.
There is a page in the book that speaks to this. It's about the farmer and the nail and their dog. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You guys you've heard that one probably, but I'll tell it basically. There's a salesman who sells farming equipment, and he goes to the farm and he's talking to the farmer, and there's a hound dog sitting next to the farmer, and he's howling. He's laying there and he's howling. Oh. And the salesman goes, "What the hell is wrong with your dog?" And he goes, "Oh, he's laying on a nail." And he says, "He's laying on a nail." He says, "Well, why the hell won't he get up?" And he says, "I guess it's not hurting him enough." Yeah. And that's exactly what we're talking about with the soul sucking audit and the book. You know, if it's not, you gotta realize that it's hurting you enough, right? You got to come to that conclusion so that you get off your ass. You know what I mean? Or that you're sitting on a nail.
Started hurting Kalina. Think about it. She started beating your nail.
Yeah.
And we all put up with that nail. That's the thing too. That's the other moral of the story, right? We all put up with that nail and we howl about it. You howl to Kalina about it. And we don't do anything about it. But it's ludicrous, right? Because the dog was hurting. Yeah. And we were hurting, and Aaron was hurting.
When we're unhappy, we make so many people unhappy. And everyone around us, we don't realize. It's funny. There's this fear of quitting that like they need me. I'll be letting them down, or it's going to be so uncomfortable. And I have met way more people, and myself included, that said, I should have made that change sooner. I should have quit sooner. I don't know if I know there's examples of it. I don't know if I've ever met somebody that said, I quit my job and I wish I didn't. Now, 6 weeks later, when I almost ran out of savings, I remember telling Kalina, like, I haven't been successful this yet. I hadn't bought my first house yet since then. And I go, if I don't buy a house before next week, I might have to go ask for a job again. But that was like the only time that that it was like, maybe this thing isn't going to work out, and God had other plans and I got a house the next week. But yeah, I haven't met very many people that said I quit my job and then I went and asked for it back, or I quit my job and I decided that I shouldn't have. Most of the time people say they should have made a change sooner because they were unhappy.
Right. Yeah. And if you think about it, think about how happy you were in that, I call it incarnation, but in that job in 2003, 2004, 2005, and then think of how things changed when you were no longer happy. It started to oxidize, and early on, you were probably a 7, 8, 9 on the soul sucking audit. And then at the end, I'll bet you were a 2 or a 3. And it was time. And this is when it's time to take massive action.
So if somebody has I wonder if people are going to start buying this book and handing it to some of their employees too. Like, do the audit. Make sure you like being
Stop.
here.
You're laying on a nail, right? Like,
geez. You're laying.
Yeah, get it out of here. You're killing me.
Yeah. Do the analysis. We all hear you. We all hear you that you don't like it here.
Anonymously. They'll put a little ribbon on it and leave it on their desk anonymously.
Yeah, the Quitter's Manifesto gets split in all
tired of hearing
offices everywhere. Where do people buy your book from?
So the easiest way is just to go to Amazon, of course, or anywhere you buy books. We have a lot of specials, and we have some bonus materials and things that you can only get on Bigger Pockets, which would be biggerpockets.com/quitters. Just go to biggerpockets.com/quitters. We have bonus materials. We have different formats of the books. We have a coaching option if you want to be handheld during the quitting process and get some coaching on that. So all at biggerpockets.com/quitters.
The video on here, it says the Quitters Club, the Quitters Playbook.
Don't read.
Yep. The Quitters Playbook and the Quitters Club. Those are two things we've created, and they will take you to the next level after you read the book.
So you guys put on there, the quitting will make you millions. was one of the videos on that site. And I think that is such a fun headline. So it's published by Bigger Pockets. So you can get it at Bigger Pockets. There's always extras when you do that. You can get it on Amazon. And if you get on Amazon, you get it like 45 minutes later because Amazon just owns the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And they figured out how to make all that stuff happen. You know, I'm just going to share a couple stories about, I guess, impact from you guys. And, and with this, and part of when you met Tim, Pat, he inspired you that, oh my gosh, I've been working too much. Right. And I was super lucky. I went to my first GoBundance event up in Tahoe, and I didn't know what I was really signing up for. I just knew I felt very alone and needed more. And I was like going to pay for this event. I didn't know what a mastermind was. And somehow, some way, I got sat next to Tim Rhode in my assigned seat. I got sat between Tim Rhode and Diego out here in Austin.
That was the universe, buddy. That was God.
Dude, that was the universe. So I got to start having inspiration. My dad had just died. I had just started to explore that maybe there's more to life than work.
That was
and then right there. And then Tim invited some members up to his house where I think he's sitting right now up in Portola, and said, hey, come hang out with me for a weekend. We're going to do there he is. He's showing it if you guys are looking at it on YouTube. Hey, we're going to go do some adventurous stuff. I don't know if I'm 15 years younger than Tim, 10, Tim's older than me. Right. and he ran circles around all of it. And the other guys there were 5 or 10 years younger than me. And Tim was running circles around us as he was hiking up the hill. We did the Downeyville downhill bike ride. I hadn't been on a bike in years. People die out there. At the beginning, I'm thinking I'm going to die. By the end of it, I'm feeling like a pro BMXer, experience of a lifetime. And I remember near the end, walking my bike up the hill, and Tim rides down to check on us. And then he rides back up the hill, and we're still walking. Then he comes back a little later, he rides down to check on us. Then he rides back up the hill. And I'm thinking Tim has figured it out with health and that idea. And the fact that some of who he is was kind of your first idea of quitting as you share that. At Tim's house that weekend, a guy said someday he was going to do an Ironman. And I said, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I'll never do an Ironman. And now you guys know the story. I've done so much of that stuff, but so much of that inspiration, so many of the first time I'd gotten adventurous again about my health or bike riding was up at Tim's in Portola. And then he took us out in the ocean hunting for abalone. And my first time out, I almost drowned, for sure panicked that I was drowning. I came back to the boat begging Aaron West to pull me back into the boat. And he's like, no, calm down, climb yourself out. The next day, and no one else would go out. Tim took me out the second day. So I get a second chance to go prove I could do it. So I could actually be, the abalone person. So much of who I am now was also formed by part of who Tim is, right? And who Tim shares to be, which goes back to that wanting to work less and enjoy life more and experience more. And all of us have recently had these experiences that remind us that life is short. And I tell you what, when life is short, you get reminded of, I should be doing more of the stuff I want and less of the stuff I don't. And so that
goes back to interest over obligation. That's where
we talk a lot about that.
Yeah, that's a big piece of this book is what the heck are you put on this earth for?
Right. And it kind of goes back to your question earlier too, Aaron, about how do you know what to do? Right. If you sit there and think about what percentage of your day today was interest, what percentage of your day today was obligation, and just sit there and think about that a couple of times a week.
Yeah, that's like a daily scorecard, right? When you're journaling at night, or how much of my day yesterday was stuff I wanted to do? How much was stuff I had to do? Or what do I want to do? I want to spend time with family. I want to spend time with friends. I want to adventure. So how much of my day was that? And how much of my day was this? I also know that we have to work hard to put things in place to do it. It's not quit and the universe comes to us. But I love that idea of kind of that daily research on it. The other side, what I appreciate, Pat quitting and changing his life, was the first time I went out of the country, pretty much other than like I had been to Mexico once, but I like was crazy afraid of flying. And one of my first times going out of the country again was this trip to Africa that Pat set up through Go Abundance, where a bunch of us, we flew to Dubai. I went to Dubai. We went to Africa. We went to Zambia. We went to Zimbabwe, and we were seeing lions, and we were flying in this little like plane that had like a lawnmower engine that looked like it was going to fall apart at any second and drop me on top of the elephants. Like we did so much adventure jam-packed into those 2 weeks. And I remember at 2 or 3 of the dinners sitting with Pat and getting to get some life advice about like a new business partner that's a mutual friend that I was asking like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. And this is what I'm concerned about. And, we're having all this adventure together and traveling around the world. And he's giving me the life advice. But first, we're more like talking about family and friends and things like that. And so both of those things that you guys started in me is so much a part of like the life that I live today, right? And the values that my family has and how we make those choices. So that helped inspire me to start traveling around the world with the kids and with Kalina and all that. And if we hadn't done any of those, we got Africa, Japan together. We're going to Croatia together in a few weeks as we get to adventure. And all that stuff is like part of, I'm sharing those stories to remind like the listeners and the people that you guys know your shit. You know what you're talking about. And it's very seldom, like when I'm 70 years old, I can imagine I'm looking at younger people saying, I wish I was that younger person. When we're older, we always wish we had our youth. Right. And you are two of the guys that I think there's a lot of youth out there that are saying, I wish I was living their life today. And I think that so when I take the guys that I take advice from, why was I like, hey, I know I haven't done an interview in months. 2 guys I want to come talk to get their word out, are Pat and Tim. And I think that the advice that they have for you, the fact they put together a book. I mean, you guys most of you listeners got to hear from Pat for a long time too. Like, I believe it. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read it. I'm probably going to listen to your interview on the Bigger Pockets podcast too, to hear more about it. What's next, guys? Like what else do you want to talk about? What else do you want to share? And then like, what's next in your personal lives? We got about 10 minutes.
I just want to say, if I was listening to this and I'm that 30-year-old kid who's got big hopes, big dreams, I'm listening to all of this and it sounds overwhelming, candidly. I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes. And it's kind of like, well, what should I do? And, where I am, you give me, and I'm trying to put myself into their shoes, if you will. And it's, take a step back, assess where you are right now. What's not.
Hello?
We lost Tim for just a second.
I don't know why he's doing these podcasts outside.
You move towards today.
I don't know why. Tim, your Wi-Fi is not coming
Tim, are you
out
back?
to your deck. I know you love the outdoors, but sometimes you gotta get.
While we're waiting for Tim to come back in Wi-Fi, Pat, what do you think?
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some value because we want to give as much value whether people buy the book or not. So, one of the very popular things that so far some of our readers have said that they love is something we call the quitting team. And what we want people to realize is, number one, you do not have to quit alone. Right. And it's part of the fear factor of the whole thing is quitting alone. And we talked to some psychologists, we talked to some experts, and we, figured out what it is that really is going to make somebody more able to grab a trapeze ring, more able to grab, just to get off the pot, let's say. So your quitting team ends up being 4 different type people. And we've actually built a diagram in the book for people to fill in names. And we ask them to fill in 2 or 3 names of each of these 4 things. So here's what they are. The first one is stakeholders. And what a stakeholder is, basically it's your spouse, right? Your spouse, maybe your relative, maybe your sister or your mom or someone who's really in the day-to-day with you, someone that totally loves you, that you talk to all the time. that person or two or three of those people need to be in it with you. They need to support you. They need to be like, Aaron, I believe in you. I want you to do this. And I think you're going to succeed. So that's the number one. The second part of it, is the partner. And what a partner is someone who is going to financially benefit if you financially benefit. I.e., let's say you're going to quit to be a real estate agent. So one of your partners as a real estate agent is a mortgage officer. Another partner is a title company. Another partner might be someone who owns a termite company or an insurance company. Those would all be partners. People who want you to win and are going to be in it with you, but they might not necessarily be like a real partner in your business, but they could be. It could be if you open up a gas station and you have a business partner, that counts too. Okay. Then the next box we have is the mentor. Now, the mentor is contrary to what people believe, that the mentor is not this old guy with long, bushy hair sitting at the bottom of an oak tree, kind of giving people advice on, all different things of their life. The mentee is actually a person who has a proven track record in your new business. Obviously, if you're a real estate agent, this is an agent who has done it successfully year after year. You know that they have a good profit. You know that they have 5-star reviews. You know that they're doing it right? Anybody in the business, if it's a gas station, it's someone who has 2 gas stations and they could show you the profit loss and show you that they're doing very well in the gas station and they're maybe not working 100 hours a week. It's just, a proven track record with what you want. And then the last is a coach. And this is how a coach varies, Aaron, different from a mentor. A coach is somebody who keeps you accountable. When we talk at GoBundance about extreme accountability, a coach is extreme accountability. They're the one that is not necessarily giving you ideas, but they're making sure that you put your money where your mouth is, right? They're again, going back to a real estate agent. If you're a real estate agent, they're the one that's making sure you're calling 20 past clients a day, that you're handing out 25 business cards a day. You're calling FSBOs, whatever it is that you're saying you're going to do, your coach is going to keep you accountable to that. And those are the 4 things. And if you have 2 or 3 names in all 4 of those boxes, you have a killer team.
It really does. I mean, the more you talk about the book, it really does talk about, like you said, the manifesto, but like the checklist of steps, it's like a how-to guide, which says, hey, if you're the person if you're unhappy with where you are, if you do not like the day-to-day job that you're going to each day, then being able to go look at this and say, hey, here's how, and you wish you could change, but you haven't. Here's how to take that fear out and actually make it a practical thing. Now I can't wait to get my hands on it. Get to see some of the diagrams and some of the stuff that you've been doing. Tim, you're back.
Sorry about that. I am back.
We were saying the beauty of the wilderness you live in is sometimes you might lose your internet. Any last things you wanted to say? Again, we didn't get to catch much of what you had just said.
No, I just, Pat was just on the things that you need for the quit team and making sure that, you go through all the steps that we mentioned in the book. If you're really serious about going from where you are to where you want to go next, this is the book for you, The Quitter's Manifesto. We've done it. We've lived it. And we put all the things that we think you need if you're serious about this. This is the way to quit. So,
yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys. It's fun to get to talk about this. I'm excited. I don't have a job to quit, but I'm excited to see your book, The Quitter's Manifesto. I'm excited to see what you guys are doing. And there's probably a few people out there that I need to buy the book for, and I need to have them look at it and do the assessment. And you know what? Like for real estate agents right now, where you guys are like, there's plenty of you guys that love what you're doing and you're crushing it. And this book is not for you, but there are tons of people around you that say they wish they could do what you do, but they can't leave their job. Or they're the ones that are like, I was telling my wife, like, man, I really hate what I'm doing on a daily basis. And they're the whiny dog near you. So if you love your life, I guarantee there's somebody around you that doesn't and should be looking into this. And if you don't, or you're trying to figure out if you should quit your job and jump all in on real estate or jump in all in something else, sounds like there's a lot of stuff in there. The final thoughts, Pat and Tim, other than buying the book on Bigger Pockets or signing up for coaching or things like that, is there any other way people should reach out to you, or is the best way right now join the book and join the Quitters Playbook stuff?
Everything that I touch or am dealing with the current business or current book or whatever can easily be found on Hiban.com. My last name, Hiban.com.
And you can find Tim at timrhode.com. So
Tim at timrhode.com, Pat at Hiban.com. Listeners, some of that'll be easier. You still know our website is hibandigital.com, where a lot of our website stuff still goes to. So don't distract it with that. Don't email me at Pat at Hiban Email Pat at Hiban.
Sounds like that's happened.
Tim at Tim Rhode. Yes. People still email Pat asking for me, and people email me asking for Pat. Almost weekly. Happen. We've tried to fix all that. Guys,
I don't know how they get my email still, but whatever. It's all good. They probably just figure it out, right? They just. Dude,
the people that want to find you. Like people call my mom asking me about properties I own in Mississippi. So like, who knows?
Oh, right? I know. Like my kids get texts about a bunch of my properties. And then they send them to me. I said, no,
they're like, oh my God, talk to my dad. I'm so annoyed with this. Guys, this was awesome.
Aaron, this is a blast, bro.
So good to catch up. So Pat and Tim, thanks for coming on.
All right, Mooch. Look forward to seeing you in Croatia, bro.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you. Real Estate Rockstars, go grab the Quitters Manifesto, and thanks for listening. All right, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one, and I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have, and also we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronandmuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.